Hello and welcome to another episode of Inside the Pod. I'm Matt Webster and today I am joined by Will Evans, Technical Officer at the PGRO, who is joining me to talk all about lentils and his research with them. Hi Will, how you doing?
Hi there, how you doing?
I suppose the best place to start is, lentils. If you could tell me a little bit about them, what makes them so interesting?
So lentils are a annual plant. They're part of the legume family, same as peas and beans. So mainly that means that they fix nitrogen in the soil, from nodules in the roots to and the rhizobia in the soil. They come in. So the bit we're interested in is the seed for harvest, as that's what we consume. And they come in lots of different colors. So we've got the most common two, which are red and green. And then we also have black and browns and yellows and things like that. They also they're large and small. So there's the 1,000 seed weight for the smaller ones around 30 grams. And then the 1,000 seed weight for the larger ones, it goes up to 80 grams. So quite a big range of size. Nutritionally, they're pretty high in protein and fiber, which is quite a rare combination. So they're a very cheap source of protein, and they contain a lot of micronutrients and things like that.
So when did we start growing lentils?
So lentils are one of the first crops to be cultivated in human history, together with wheat and barley. So about 10,000 maybe years ago, when just starting to settle down and grow crops. They were kind of originated around Southwest Asia, so like Turkey, Syria, Iraq, that sort of area. And then they slowly kind of spread throughout like Asia in the east, like obviously to India, which is where they've eaten in huge amounts, south to East Africa, and then actually up through Europe to all the way up north to Germany and France mainly. There is actually a bit of evidence that they were grown in the UK, maybe hundreds of years ago, which is pretty cool. And then basically worldwide production now, like modern times. So a couple of years ago, 2022, it was around 6.6 million tons, and around half of that was produced by Canada, which is around 3 million tons. And India is second with about 1.2. Like interestingly as well, the next five on the list are like USA, Turkey, Australia, and Kazakhstan. So you can even see already that they're all different latitudes, longitudes, climates, just showing how robust and varied the climates growing.
Yeah, sounds like a really global crop.
Yeah, exactly.
What about the UK? Are we growing them in the UK, or I suppose maybe the question should be, can we grow them in the UK?
Yes, and they are in small amounts at the moment, obviously, but I think there's a lot going for lentils as a kind of niche crop. I think there's quite a few positives. Is very low pest and disease pressure. We'll get into the project, but I guess we've been doing it for 4 years and we've never had a problem with any pests. Disease pressure is normally very low, not normally affecting the yield too badly. Together with the nitrogen fixing, there's very low inputs. One of just basically the seed cost really, and herbicide, which we'll get into. It grows on wide range of soil types and pHs. It's grown in the lowlands of Norfolk, and it's even grown up to like Tibetan plateaus, 5,000 meters above sea level. So, as long as it has, like nice amount of rainfall and sunshine, then it's good. And it obviously benefits the subsequent crop. You can control grass weeds because it's a broadleaf weed, and it's got a low CN ratio, so actually it breaks down quite easily without depleting any nutrients from the soil. And together with that, I think there's a lot of growing demand for plant-based proteins. And also, if you can add value with the organic, possibly, or the British grown like label, then that adds a lot of value as well.
Oh, and so obviously you are researching lentils at the PGRO. Could you tell us a bit more about your research, how you're researching it, maybe any interesting findings so far?
Yeah, so we started the project in 2020. It was kind of came about with a conversation with a few different people that we found out that they were, growing lentils in Sweden. So why not the UK? And yeah, so we kind of got a few varieties, commercial varieties from Europe, and then also we got 20 varieties sent from University of Saskatchewan in Canada, who will do amazing work on pulses and especially lentils and things like that. Obviously, where they grow the most in the world, so they obviously know what they're doing. And so, yeah, they sent a lot of varieties, and we basically first year we just decided, right, with 5,000 seeds, small plots, and just see what kind of works really and grows well. No inputs, a little bit of hand weeding. And yeah, so we drilled them in early April in 2020. And yeah, we got some for that. We got a lot of good information from that. And then from then on, for the last 3 years, we ran a variety trial and got slowly kind of whittled down the varieties, taken off the ones that perform really badly, and then now we've learned quite a lot of different things about how each variety grows and the different red, greens, and blacks grow and things like that. So specifically, in 2021, we went up to quite a big plots, like our kind of usual size plots, 4 repetitions, and we all aimed for exactly, we tried 130 plants per meter squared. And they were kind of all drilled, the last 3 years, all drilled in mid-April this time. And yeah, so we just kind of found lots of different things, because obviously there are a few challenges by growing them in the UK as well. There is some early weed competitiveness is a bit tricky, so we're putting a lot of kind of concentration on that into finding the best tactics for that. Also, we're concentrating a lot on which ones stand up tall and lodge, resistance basically to lodging. And yeah, that's what we kind of really concentrated on.
Yeah, so it sounds like you've done a lot with this so far. Are there any specific varieties that are of notes? Any particularly strong ones that you're able to talk about?
Yeah, so we kind of unfortunately I can't name any specific varieties at the moment, but generally we're kind of over the last 3 years we kind of mainly split them into red and green. We had about 7 of each color, and then we had 1 black, and we kind of just basically grew them and collected the yield data at the end. And yeah, we've basically over the 3 years got an average for all the varieties at 2 tons per hectare. So some of the varieties are averaging 2.5 over 3 years, which I think is really good. And then the upper in 2022 we got one of the varieties that got up to 3.15 tons per hectare, which is really, really promising. And that's actually one of the best varieties, and that's a red one. And yeah.
Yep, sounds all sounds good. Are there any other trialing work that you do with lentils? You mentioned herbicide work earlier.
Yes. So together alongside the variety trial, we started introducing different maybe more, like trying to go deeper into the agronomy side of things. So um, firstly, because we knew that the weed competitiveness is a bit of a challenge, we started with herbicides, and we kind of used the classic herbicides that we use in peas and beans first, and actually just kind of well we sprayed them over each variety in strips, and basically just trying to see if there was any phytotoxicity and if it damaged the crop. And we found that Nirvana and Stomp, which we use quite regularly in peas and beans, were absolutely fine. They were pre-emergence herbicides, and then a post-emergence herbicide for peas and beans, which is it's called Basagran, actually killed the crop. So we learned quite quickly that they're a bit more sensitive than peas and beans, so they require a bit more thought when it comes to herbicides.
Right.
So with that, the herbicide trial, um, this year I've actually started trying to really nail down the herbicide program. Last year I used because of the herbicide trial in 2022, 2023, I used Nirvana at the rate that we use peas and beans. But we did see a lot of phytotoxicity that year for some reason. I think it's because I drilled it maybe the seed too shallow,
Right.
which actually this year I found out. Yeah, we drilled the lentils a bit deeper this year and used full rate Nirvana on some of the plots, and we haven't seen any phytotoxicity. So yeah, it's just trying to, you can tell, it's trying to find those balances and changing slightly different things. So we're learning like every year on herbicides.
Hmm.
So this year I'm doing a dose rate trial for Nirvana and Stomp just to try and find the right dose for that as well. And then the other kind of trials we did were last year I did a nutrient and fungicide trial just to see if there was any yield response. And interestingly, none of the trials actually had any yield response whatsoever.
Right.
Just showing again that the inputs, are incredibly important. But obviously, we'll repeat that over a few years just to double check. But yeah.
Right. And sticking on trials, another thing that I think is a lot of growers find quite interesting is intercropping. Are lentils able to intercrop?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, actually, we did. I did a couple of plots last year with intercropping with oats, and that actually looked really good. I think there's definitely a lot more to look into that. I think it's quite common in Germany to do intercropping because it does help possibly with the lodging and keeps it standing up. But I think generally I'm finding some of the varieties are really good at standing up. So it depends. Obviously, intercropping adds a complication with separation things. So it's kind of, again, it's a bit of a balance really. And I think it's definitely you could spend years researching intercropping and things like that. So it's definitely something that we're looking forward to as well, to see if that works.
Brilliant. And looking ahead to the future of your research, obviously you've said a lot of these trials are going to be continuing year after year. Is there anything else that you're looking to research, any different trials, or is it simply just a case of repeating these current trials to really consolidate your results?
Yeah, so the variety trial, we've gone from 20 varieties, and now this year we've really nailed down to 6 ones that are working really well consistently. So we kind of probably keep that variety trial going every year just to kind of get more information. And as I mentioned, we did the herbicide dose rate, so that's that would be really interesting this year. There's also doing a seed rate trial just to see if we can gain any more yield from that. Because I think 130 plants per meter squared is good in Canada, but does that work in the UK? Maybe actually it's better to use slightly higher, and that might help with the weed competitiveness and things like that. And then also it might increase disease. So it's always a balance. I think farmers. I've been talking to some farmers, and I think their main concern is harvest. Obviously, we have a nice small trial combine harvester, so I've never driven a huge combine, so I can imagine it's a lot more complicated when the crop is quite low to the ground. I think lentils doesn't get too much more higher than 40 centimeters, so and especially if there is a bit of lodging possibly. So that's definitely something we're looking into, and as you said, intercropping could help with that. But I think we got some good varieties that stand up pretty well. And yeah, like on harvest as well, I think desiccation is quite an interesting topic, but I also think that with lentils, interestingly, I think some farmers would always like to harvest crops when they're completely dead, brown, senesced.
Yeah.
But with lentils, it's slightly different. You can actually harvest them green. So as long as the pods, the bottom 2/3 pods are dry and the seeds are dry, you can harvest them green.
Oh.
Yeah, so I think you have to work out the timing and be a bit. You have to really monitor the crop quite closely for a week or two. But yeah, I think that's really interesting because I think a lot of desiccants in the UK are not have been banned. So and glyphosate doesn't really work as a desiccant in lentils. Yeah, and also with herbicides, I've talked to a couple of farmers. I think post-emergence herbicide is finding one would actually be really useful, just kind of a good backup just in case the weed pressure becomes very high. Because this year at the trial at our trial ground, because of 2023 where I used Nirvana and there was phyto, this year I used just Stomp, which is just pendimethalin, and the trials are really weedy. So if there's maybe post-em herbicide which could be used as a bit of a backup, bit of peace of mind, then that would be good as well. So yeah, there's a few different ones that I can look at next year. But yeah.
Fantastic. And looking a bit wider now, I want to talk a little bit about the current market for UK lentils. Obviously, it sounds like a bit more of a niche kind of market. Do you have any outlooks on that you'd be willing to share?
Yeah, I guess with any niche crop, you'd obviously need to find the end market first. But I think there is quite a few growers dotted about the south and the east. There's quite a few. Obviously, there's company Hodmedod's, which is a really fantastic shop that grows all different types of crops, and a lot of lentils and pulses, all British grown on British farms. So yeah, they've been growing lentils for I think maybe 8 years or something, or maybe so they've obviously got a lot of knowledge as well. And yeah, I've talked to some farmers this year who have started growing them, and I think just anything that increases diversity. And obviously, when you grow a niche crop, as I said, there's a lot because there's not as much disease and pests around of that crop. Then it's the inputs are so low that you can make a good profit if you get a good contract or get a good supply, someone who can supply it to the UK market. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for coming on, Will.
Oh, thank you, Matt.
That's it for today's episode of Inside the Pods. If you want to find out any more about Lentils or the PGRO's work with Lentils, you can head over to their website at pgro.org. And if you never want to miss an episode, make sure you subscribe to the podcast on whichever podcast service you use. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you in the next one.